Hey guys, Tom here again from synthhacker.com, back with another tutorial for Serum. I'm really excited about this one because it's recreating a sound by one of my favourite artists, Madeon. I'm sure most of you know who that is. In this tutorial we're going to be recreating the absolutely awesome bass sound from his track Imperium off of his album Adventure, which if you haven't checked out or listened all the way through, definitely go ahead and check it out. It's probably one of my favorite electronic albums that I've heard for a while, really. And yeah, it's this really kind of thick bass sound. It's kind of like a Pluck bass, used similarly by Nero as well in their track Satisfying. It's also got kind of like a Gesaffelstein vibe as well. But yeah, I'll demonstrate the sound and then we'll initialize the patch and be making it from scratch. So hopefully you like that sound. I thought I got pretty close to the bass sound in the original track. I think from what I can hear, there's actually a few different layers on top of each other, and it actually sounds like one of the layers is being processed by something like guitar rig, because part of it sounds like it's being put through like an amp or something like that, which is probably something like guitar rig. But yeah, as far as just using Serum on its own, I think I actually got pretty close with this sound. And yeah, it's actually not that complicated. Like if you see, it's just saw waves, but there's a few little tips and tricks that I can give you guys to kind of get the most out of this sound. We're going to go ahead and initialize the preset. As always, we're going to be making it from scratch. And as always, guys, these videos are supported by my website, which is over at synthhacker.com, or you can check the link down in the description below. Definitely go over there at some point if you get the chance to check out my preset packs for Serum and other synths as well. Hopefully there's something in there that kind of takes your fancy. All those presets are handcrafted by me. I put a lot of time into those. So definitely go ahead and check those out, and thanks in advance if you do decide to purchase those, because it really does help support me and the channel in future videos as well. But without further ado, let's begin making this Madeon bass sound. So the first thing we're going to do is make sure that the sound is monophonic. The melody that you'll heard at the start, and the melody from the Madeon track itself, there's points in it where there's just like really quick bass note changes, from one note to another. And if your bass sound isn't monophonic, so if it has more than one voice, what will happen is you'll kind of get overlapping, which will sound like really super muddy, which you don't want. So yeah, definitely just make sure that it's set to mono. We're going to make sure that all of the oscillators are switched on. We're going to be using, like I said, just basic waveforms for oscillator A and B, just the default sawtooth waveform. Starting in the sub oscillator though, we're going to make sure we've just got a plain sine wave for our low end. We're going to pitch this down at -1 octave, and we're going to route this directly out as well, just so that it's kind of avoiding all the distortion and stuff that we're going to add later on, and the filter and everything like that, just so we have a nice solid clean low end. For the noise oscillator, we're going to use the analog kind of noise, which is this ARP white noise. If you listen to the bass sound in the track, there's definitely some noise layered up on there, like some filtered noise, which kind of adds to that snappiness of it and kind of fills out the frequency range a little bit and adds some beefiness. We're going to make sure that this is just over half the amplitude. The other thing I did was just add a little bit of randomness to the position of where the noise is actually played from. This is just a cool little trick, just so the noise waveform isn't being played from the start every time it plays, and just adds a nice little bit of randomness to the sound, which is really cool. But one area that we kind of don't want any randomness is this in oscillator X. We're going to pitch this down -1 octave as well, the same as the sub oscillator. This is going to be providing some additional low end, but with some more harmonics, because it is a saw wave, to add some nice low texture. But what we're going to do, we're actually going to bring the random phase amount down, just so that every time a note hits, the waveform is going to be playing from the exact same spot from the beginning. just so that each time a note's pressed, it's just going to sound exactly the same pretty much. So that's going to provide some nice consistency to the sound. We're just going to boost the volume a little bit as well. But for oscillator B, this is actually going to be filling out some of the higher frequencies, really. And this is going to be used to thicken up the sound by, first of all, adding some like 4 voices of unison. We're going to bring the detune down a little bit though. And what this is going to do, because in Serum automatically when you add voices of unison to an oscillator, these individual voices are spread across the stereo field, so it really helps kind of thicken the sound out a little bit, which is really what we want for this sound. So I'll just quickly show you what we have so far, and then we'll move into the filter section. So we have the basic kind of like harmonic structure that we want. You know, we have the high end from the noise and oscillator B, and then we've got the nice low end from the sub oscillator and oscillator A. But really what it's missing is like the Pluck-like nature of the sound, which really comes from 2 main places. First of all, amplitude envelope, which is envelope 1. We want to make sure we've got this nice kind of decaying envelope, like you can see here. We're going to make it slightly more linear though, by just dragging that out, and then we're going to add a little bit of release as well, about like 80 milliseconds or something like that. So that's the first way that we get more of like a Pluck-like sound, but the second way is by, as always, using the filter. We're going to stick with the low pass 12 dB 2-pole low pass filter. We're going to make sure that everything's being routed through here. It doesn't really matter about the sub oscillator because that's going directly out anyway. And then what we're going to do, we're going to bring this cutoff down, and then we're going to use the same envelope we used for the amplitude to actually modulate the cutoff frequency of this filter. And we're going to bring this back just a little bit, so we're just cutting off some of the harsher bit of the high end. We're also going to bring the resonance down, and then we're just going to add a little bit of saturation by using the drive in the filter as well, just to kind of add some color to the sound. So now we have this. So that's definitely getting closer to the sound that we're after, but it's still lacking like a little bit of polish. So what we're going to do now, we're going to move into the effects section. We're first of all going to add some nice tube distortion. We're going to boost the drive quite a little bit, and kind of similar to what we did in the filter section, this is going to add a nice bit of color to the sound. And like I mentioned, the sound in the bass sound in the Madeon track kind of sounded to me like it was being put through like some kind of like guitar like emulation, like guitar amp emulation or something as well. So this is a good way to try and achieve that as well. And then what we're going to do after the distortion, to bring out some of the characteristics of it a little bit more, we're actually going to use some multiband compression, and you'll really notice the difference that this makes. So make sure you check multiband here, and we're going to boost the gain just a little bit. You got to be careful with this, guys, because if you push this too much, it's just going to absolutely blow your ears off. So just kind of add a little bit of gain. We're going to push the release up a little bit and bring the attack right down. We're going to keep the ratio where it is and just bring the threshold down. And I'll show you the effect that this has now. I'll just A/B this. So you can hear it really brings out the like nice crispiness added as a result from the distortion and driving the filter, which is really cool. That's a really great way to polish sounds off. Next, we're just going to add some reverb. You can either use the inbuilt you can either use the inbuilt reverb in Serum, or you can use your own external like favorite reverb, whichever you wish. We're going to use a trick that I've used on a few different bass sounds before, where you can bring down the mix amount of the reverb and then use the amplitude envelope to control the dry wet. This just means that when the sound comes to a stop, so will the reverb, which is a really cool effect that I definitely recommend that you try out on a few different bass sounds. And we're just going to bring the high cut down a little bit, and also push the size up a little bit. And then you could use the low cut just to take some lows out of the sound as well, out of the reverb. But the thing is, because the sub oscillator is being routed directly out anyway, it won't make much of a difference. I mean, I guess considering that oscillator A is minus octave down as well, you want to kind of cut some lower frequencies out of the reverb. And then lastly, we're just going to add some EQ, just to kind of add a nice low shelf to the bottom here. We're just going to boost, make sure you got the shelf option selected, and boost this a little bit. And then this is our finished sound. I'll show you the effect that the reverb has as well at the mix line. And that's pretty much the sound. Hopefully you learnt a lot from this video. I had a lot of fun making this. This is probably one of my favorite sounds that I've done a tutorial on so far. Let me know if you enjoyed it and got some use out of it by leaving a like down below and leaving a comment as well. If you want to stay up to date with future tutorials, be sure to subscribe. And like I said earlier, if you haven't done already, definitely go ahead and check out my website over at synthhacker.com, or click the link in the description down below to go check out my presets for Serum and also other synths as well. That's all from me, guys. Thanks a lot for watching. I really do appreciate all the support recently. My channel's been growing at a really good rate, so I really do appreciate that. And yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.